Hello, welcome to the Totally Well Show. I'm your host, Joyce Strong. The Totally Well Show is a place where we get curious, ask questions, and explore everything to do with health, wellness, fitness, and all the things it takes to help you live the highest quality, most fulfilling life. I'm here today with Pamela Dussault. Hi, Pamela.
Hello.
I'm so excited to get to know you.
Thank you, me too.
Pamela is an intuitive counselor. She is the founder of the REAP method, R-E-A-P, REAP healing method, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that to dig deeper. She's a shamanic practitioner. You can find Pamela at passagetoinnerjoy.com and learn more about the REAP healing method at reaphealing.com. And you can also find those same titles on Facebook as pages. So check her out, like her page. REAP stands for
Remote Energetic Alignment Process.
All right, well, I'm going to have to ask you some questions about that. But before we do that, because we're in Groton on the Groton Channel, I always like to let people know how I found you.
Yep.
You're from Groton.
I am. I lived in Groton for about 20 years.
And so I think we had kids at school at the same time.
I think we did too, yeah.
And Ashley knows one of your...
Joey,
yeah. So welcome home.
Yes, I know. It's good to be home. It's fun to be back in the building after all this time.
So in general, the type of work you do sounds like what I think of in general is energy.
It is.
Is that what it is?
It's very much energetically based.
Okay.
So the intuitive counseling part it's pretty self-explanatory. I use my intuition, but I also use my psychic abilities. They're pretty much interchangeable. I think most people are more comfortable with the word intuition, but they kind of work together the same to help counsel people, and that's kind of on a one-on-one basis. The healing part of it, well, that can be healing in and of itself, as you well know with coaching and such. The healing part of it, the specific energy healing part of it, does very much use energy. I call it energy medicine. There's also energy psychology, but we can get into that in a little bit when we talk more about REAP. But yeah. Energy is everything, pretty much, with what I do. So,
and what we are.
and absolutely, it's what we are made up of.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I'd like to get a little sense of how you got into this, or how you became aware even of this field.
Oh yes. Yeah. Well, as a child, I always kind of could feel other people's emotions and that kind of thing. Today we call them empaths, right? Yeah. Extra sensitive children and adults. But I kind of just didn't really do much with it until I was kind of forced into an awareness. Where I did have an experience, I call it like a divine intervention, where I actually heard some things and it was undeniable. I couldn't mistake what was happening, other than the fact that I might be going crazy, which I did check on, trust me. But
I was wondering about that, if you challenged your own.
Yeah. But so I looked more into what I was experiencing, the divine intervention, what was happening, why I was hearing helpful information and things like that. And it just opened this door to all these other people and other groups and other ways of seeing and being and understanding things from an intuitive, spiritual perspective. And I just knew that I kind of belonged in that. And so from there, I just kind of expanded into it, and I couldn't stop learning. I just wanted to know more and more and more. So that's kind of how it began. And it was actually very interesting because I was actually in I would say the corporate field. And I remember loving everything that I was learning so much and thinking, oh, I wish I could somehow make this my career. Mm-hmm. And little things started happening and lining up. It was almost like I was meant to do this as my career. It wasn't just something that I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And things like I'd been with the company for almost 19 years, and I had been laid off. And at that point, I knew I could collect severance and, of course, some unemployment and go back to school, because I also wanted to learn massage therapy. Mm-hmm. So I have that in my background as well. Mm-hmm. And I did, and then everything just continued to flow in this direction, like so organically, for me to be able to do what I do. So, wow. Yeah.
I hear that from so many people,
Yeah.
a similar kind of story, that just it's like when the student is ready, the teacher appears, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's always been there, and
Yeah.
you just had to step into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So going from being really a student, an observer, then a student, and then founding your own technique, that is a huge leap.
Yeah, it is, because...
A reap leap.
Yeah, it is. It is. What transpired was because I was highly intuitive, I am highly intuitive, during an actual session, I was doing a distant healing session. And I'm a Reiki master teacher, so I also taught Reiki and had learned Reiki.
Is this like Reiki?
This is like Reiki. It's similar.
Okay.
Reap is very similar. And in the process of doing this, distant healing, more information was coming out. I was picking up, information about stories that were kind of being held in their energy, where it was being held. I was receiving some guidance about what to do in that particular area. So the whole time I was doing this healing, I was, writing notes. I was taking notes down about what was going on and how I was sort of being guided to do this work. And so I just thought it was something that was coming through for me. I didn't think it was anything really, big like Reiki or specific. I just thought, okay, this might be just this one-time thing with this person. And then as I continued to do my work with other people, more of that was coming out. And it was getting clear that I was really being guided to share this and to do this work. Eventually over time, and it was the success, the clients loved it. Eventually over time, I felt very much guided to share it. Mm-hmm. So I had started putting it together in a structured format, much more structured, to be able to teach other people the method. And they wanted to learn it. They enjoy it. And so it goes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's how I found you, through having a session with Karen Campbell.
Yes.
And she introduced me to the method and to you. Mm-hmm. And can you tell me a little bit about what goes on with, in this case with me, we were in the same room.
Yep.
But it can be done?
It can be done in the same room, but it can be done over distance too.
Okay, so the word remote doesn't necessarily mean we're in separate places.
Right.
Is that true?
It is true.
Okay.
It is true. You can be in separate places. I mean, I've had clients in Singapore and Australia, and in London, and such places where, it was still happening. It was still working. Even in person, you can consider it remotely because it's kind of like the practitioner is, I'm going to say, like, kind of going into the client's body in a way, and reading it, like picking up on certain things. But again, I just want to back up. So REAP is made up of 3 main components: intuition, energy medicine, and energy psychology. Okay, so all those things kind of play into it. But there is a structured format or guideline, but it's really much more structured, where you're looking at the body's organs and systems. So it's body based. It's very much in the body. And this might be, whereas Reiki is kind of, you're taking universal life force energy and giving it out. With REAP, you're kind of almost diagnosing, and I say that very lightly.
Yeah, it's not a medical diagnosis.
Right, it's not a medical diagnosis.
Yeah. Legally, we can't.
Right, no, right.
Like that, yeah.
But you're kind of you're looking over what's going on in the body, and you're doing it by feeling what's happening in your own body at the same time. That's how you know.
And when I did this with Karen, I remember some of the parts, but as a nurse, I'm like, oh, she's like going through my anatomy.
Yes.
Like she went through different parts of my body.
Yes, because we love the body.
Yeah.
And the body already knows what it's supposed to do to heal, right? That's how.
What I think.
That's well, I believe that too. It's how we were created to be. It's just sometimes certain blocks and things get in the way to, and behaviors, of course, and such, that will prevent it from doing its natural ability to heal or be well. And it's REAP is based on that premise. So a treatment, right, and you had experienced that, would be where, if I was working on you, I would be able to feel in my own body what was blocked or what needed extra help in your body.
And so our viewers know the way it looked for me, as we were in a small, very nice small room, doors shut, but lights on, the window was open. And we were sitting maybe this far apart, maybe even a little farther apart. So we weren't touching. There wasn't hands-on.
It's not hands-on.
We were sitting sort of diagonally, so we weren't really even looking at each other. I was like, Karen, what am I supposed to do? She's like, whatever you want. So I was like, I can't visualize a cone of light coming into my head with my eyes open. So is it okay if I close my eyes?
Yeah.
So this is like how we started, because it was very new to me, and
Right.
she was just so chill.
Yeah.
And kind of got me settled. But it was, clothes on, seated in a chair.
Right.
And very relaxed. I had water by my side, and it was, not at all scary.
Yeah.
But I might have been scary with big assumptions walking in there had I,
True.
I already knew Karen and trusted her, so I knew I would be safe. But it's different.
It is different. It is different. And you're right. You're absolutely right. You can sit, you can lie, of course, clothes on, there's no touching. But it's actually a very relaxing experience. Whatever, sensations you feel are usually just very light sensations. They don't hurt. It's, of course, again, non-invasive. And I like to think of it as like a massage for your organs and for your body system, your tissues and your muscles, and And yeah, and because that's kind of how it all started for me too. So,
Well, all I know is after, like, I forget how she worded it, like she broke the connection.
yes.
I just couldn't stop talking. I was like, "Ugh, ugh, ugh, and this happened, that happened."
Sharing your experiences from it.
Just like all this stuff came out that was sort of in there, but didn't have structure or voice, and it just like, and the person I was talking to about earlier, he talks about it almost like inserting a syringe and sucking out the toxins.
Yes.
Yes. That was the
Yes.
image that he talked about.
Yeah. With REAP, when you're doing that energy work, it's almost like you're not necessarily sucking anything out of the energy,
Yeah.
but it's whatever was there is dissolving,
Okay.
or transforming,
Yeah.
transmuting, if you want, and purifying. Like all of that kind of thing is happening. So you have that for your well-being, right? You're having a treatment. It's to help your well-being and your health, physical, emotional, mental, all of that. It's there for you. But on a much larger scale, what's happening is the client or you are starting to become more aware of you, of your authentic self. And that's probably why you started talking so much, that you are becoming aligned with your true self, which is why alignment is in REAP. Right?
So remote energetic alignment process.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening on the bigger scale of it.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So the difference then between REAP and Reiki, can you explain that? Because I know a lot of people have been on here to talk about Reiki and being Reiki masters. What's the difference?
With Reiki, you can, but you're not necessarily trained to use your intuition specifically to read the body,
Okay.
read the organs, get information about the story, communicate. You're not, it can happen, and a lot of it happened with me with Reiki, and I know there are a lot of other practitioners and master teachers that happens with. But at least for me, when I was trained, that was never a part of my training.
Okay.
We also we were given hands-on locations with Reiki, but we weren't given a body, how to move from one organ of the body to another organ of the body. And REAP feels much more like it's an inside thing coming out, where Reiki feels more like it's an outside thing going in.
Okay.
So, yeah. And again, I still love Reiki. I still use Reiki. So it's just another tool. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, as a teacher, how do you? I try not to ask two questions at once. The short questions. How do you identify a candidate to be taught? And
A student.
Yeah, and how long does it take to acquire the skill?
I can identify them. Well, first of all, I generally, people who come to me who want to learn are identified by nature. I do believe that the students appear because they're ready.
Okay.
But
So they've heard about it, or
they've heard about it,
experienced it.
They've experienced it. A lot of students had been clients before. But generally, if they have a ability. They don't have to be super intuitive, using it all the time, but there's something that they know. And they want to know more about energy and how it works on them specifically. Those are generally candidates who are great for REAP because they don't have to want to heal. They might just want to know more for themselves. I have probably 65% of those that I have taught are not practitioners.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's surprising.
they just want it for themselves.
So you can do the REAP process on yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like with Reiki, too.
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yep.
So once a person is a student and they whether or not they want to practice it, but I'm guessing if they're actually in the field practicing, they may want to have a greater level of confidence.
Right.
Is that true? So
Yep.
how long does it take them to get up to snuff?
Well, the course itself it's 12 hours of training.
Okay.
In person, I have weekend intensive training courses, but a lot of the people that I teach are not in Massachusetts. So I do an online course, and we meet for 2 hours each once a week for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And that's enough to teach at least the first level. I haven't gone into the second level yet. To teach them the basics of how to use it. At the end, there's a practicum in order to become certified, and they do need to take what they've learned and work on another person, volunteer, of course, and experience it from beginning to end. And share that experience with me, and that way I can talk to them about what they might improve on, and where their strengths lie, and that kind of thing.
And when you say share beginning to end, you mean share a treatment session?
Well, just write it out.
Yeah. So a single treatment session.
Yeah, I recommend that they do at least 2, though.
Okay.
If more is better, always.
Yeah.
However, as a practitioner, or even using it on yourself, it really does, you get much better with time and practice, like anything else.
Yeah.
So you can be ready to go and give treatments on other people after the course, after you become certified, especially depending on your level even But the more you use it, the better you become, and even the more expansive the practitioner might end up being with their confidence and knowledge and abilities to intuit. So
when somebody goes for treatment, wants to experience a treatment, do you ever recommend the amount of times that they go? Like the one, I think with Karen, I did just 30 minutes. It was a shorter. I think she does longer sessions. Do you recommend like repeat once a month, or does it really vary depending on the circumstances?
it really varies depending on the circumstances.
So one can be helpful.
Oh.
More is better, generally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, no, one can be very helpful. It can be, very transformative. But, we're complex beings. And I think that with each session, you're kind of like going into a whole nother layer and working on that and just evolving even more so. But at least with the bigger picture of the benefits of having a REAP session, that awakening and awareness of your authentic self, who you really are and alignment with that begins right away. And it's just something that continues. So it's and I call it like you're planting the seed.
Yeah. Oh, I love
which,
that.
Which
yeah.
again, REAP applies to so many different aspects within this method. But it's like you're planting a seed, and then that seed, then you're reaping what has been sown.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I didn't catch that before.
yeah,
I love that.
there's a lot. Yeah.
I'm getting a signal now that we're almost out of time.
Okay.
Getting a message. And I do want to ask you about the title of our show is The Totally Well Show.
Yes.
And I'm curious to hear, in the next, say, 2 minutes, we have to talk 2 or 3 minutes about what are the top things it takes for you to be totally well in your life.
Well, meditation is number one.
Yeah.
My morning meditation ritual is absolutely necessary for me to feel well personally. And I would say secondary, letting go of worry, which isn't easy. We're as human beings, we tend to worry a lot, and I believe that puts a lot of stress on our minds and our bodies and such. So doing what we can to let go of worry, and that would probably lead me to the third thing, which is to trust. And I do trust very much in a bigger power, a higher power, a bigger purpose that will always kind of lead us to where we need to go and help us out when we need help. Of course, that was my initial experience that got me on this path. So it's my natural inclination to go there and trust.
I can see how the REAP method and some of the other work that you do is intuitive in your shamanic practice and to help people heal so that they can trust. I heard a good expression, if I can get it right. Are you going where you're looking, or are you looking where you're going? And you are going where you're looking. It's very clear.
Yeah.
And the universe has got your back.
Yeah, that's it. It does.
Yeah.
I believe that very much so. It's proven true every time.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing what you do. It's fascinating,
so much.
and it's definitely goes far beyond the books of that I read in nursing school and the other things that I do that are more like physics based, that are this or that. But really, it is quantum physics, right?
It is. Oh no, it is. Yeah.
So I'm really happy that I got to have a little bit more insight and learning about it.
I am
And
too.
we'll have you back and talk more because this time went fast.
I know, it really did. I really enjoyed talking about it, obviously. And
Yeah.
I thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.